The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is marvelously funny and marvelously modern. Sure, on the surface, Midge's story is the ultimate retro fun.
There's a new thing called a birth control pill. Only married women are allowed to take it. You know, women who don't want to have sex.
But if you look beyond her perfectly coordinated outfits, Midge actually mines her stand-up comedy material from pressures women still recognize today.
Put on a pair of my husband's shoes, and my God, were they comfortable. I get it now. Why men rule the world. No high heels. I'm divorcing my husband, but I am keeping the shoes.
This is The Takeaway, brought to you by The Take, where we break down your favorite films and TV shows to get at the deeper meanings and messages they leave us with. In this episode, we're talking about modern woman Midge Maisel, iconic female hero of her time and our time.
I'm a woman who comes out here to make men laugh who are here to see women take their clothes off.
When Midge's picture-perfect 1950s life goes up in flames and she embarks on a quest to become a great stand-up comic, she offers an alternative to the type of perfection women are still encouraged to strive for. Here are the steps we can see in the Mrs. Maisel playbook for how to own your inner modern woman's power, then and now.
You should be a bigger man and just let it go. Well, I'm a woman, so that.
Much of Midge's pre-career life is an illusion, built on careful attention to appearance and presentation.
Fitting into this dress required no solid food for 3 straight weeks.
She goes to bed in full makeup and waits until her husband Joel is asleep before performing her bedtime beauty routine. But by the end of the first episode, the illusion begins to crack.
You're leaving me for a girl who can't figure out how to sharpen a pencil?
It's not about her, and it was a new sharpener.
It was electric. All she had to do was push.
I thought my life was going to be something different.
Devastated after Joel leaves her, Midge returns to the club where Joel performed that night and turns to the mic along with some of the bottle.
And I'm officially losing my mind, which is perfect. Now I will be alone and crazy. The famous mad divorcee of the Upper West Side.
The result is her arrest for indecency, and a star is born. Midge, like many women, has always put a great deal of pressure on herself to be perfect.
Women learn rules from women's magazines. I can't make a move without consulting Family Circle or Harper's Bazaar.
But it turns out everything going wrong with her beautiful illusion life was a gift, because her life was the one that was meant to be something different.
1 year ago, my old life ended and my new life began. This day is perfect. It's like a dream.
Midge's perfectly ordered world needed to blow up for her to become her authentic self, something that's as true in the 2020s as in the 1950s.
All comics are comics because something in their lives went horribly wrong.
As she decides to commit to a career in comedy, the lack of polish and perfection in her new venture is important because it gives Midge space to experiment, test out new material, and get better.
He was perfect husband material. I knew he was, because that's what his wife told me. Yes? No? Kind of an in-betweener. Reject.
It can still be common for women not to try something that seems unusual or out there because they're afraid of letting themselves or others down, but Midge's failures teach her resilience and make her bolder.
Failure is how we grow.
She comes to realize that this messy, imperfect state isn't a temporary step on the way to a polished destination. She likes staying in the chaos.
I realized that I hadn't been spontaneous enough in my life. Too much stop, not enough go. And I realized that I liked this feeling.
Being imperfect also isn't the same as settling for less. It's the opposite. Striving to be the perfect good girl has been holding Midge back from being something better than good, a great original artist.
And they loved me because I just went out there and started talking. I didn't have anything planned, I just ripped.
What's the point?
The point is that's always when I'm the best, Susie.
The first episode of Season 4 closes with the camera focusing on Midge as Leslie Uggam sings, "Being good isn't good enough. I'll be the best or nothing at all." And the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel doesn't sugarcoat the costs that can come with that pursuit of greatness. Midge is so dedicated to her craft that she finds it impossible to ever switch off, sometimes to the point where she betrays, lets down, or humiliates people close to her.
What do we got here, kids? A shotgun wedding?
When she's performing at a lunch for Jackie Kennedy, she gets laughs at her lighthearted jokes about impossible standards for women.
Do we really want a first lady who looks like this on a horse? Or do we want a first lady who looks a little more like the horse? We women are dealing with a lot. Do we really need to be constantly comparing ourselves? So come on.
But when she gets too real about infidelity, the mood darkens.
Can you imagine catching your husband with another woman in your bed?
Still, Midge gets by now that it's not the end of the world to mess up or displease people sometimes. Women are often conditioned to people please and worry about keeping others happy.
Women could be bleeding from the head and they'd host a dinner party if the invitations were already sent out.
It's easy to pay lip service to overcoming this, but Midge shows us how difficult it is to really stop living for others and listen to what you need instead. And that's because if you do let go of the need to please everyone, you'll probably end up irritating or pissing off people in your life.
It's kind of my fault. My father's in this situation. I decided this year to totally uproot my life and became a different person. I guess you all know what that's like, huh? My parents don't know I'm not a virgin. I think my 2 kids might have been a tip-off. I'm amazed that those are my cobbler's apprentices story has held up for so long.
One of Midge's most important lessons for our era, too, is how wildly entertaining women can be.
Women aren't funny.
Your wife must have a sense of humor. She's seen you naked.
Just like Midge, we're still existing in a world where people think women just aren't funny.
Men, those over there, and men in general, think that they are the only ones who get to use comedy to close up those holes in their soul. They run around telling everyone that women aren't funny, only men are funny.
But from the very first episode, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel showcases how women have to be funnier than men to get a fraction of their success.
How come men fail and people say, you gave it the old college try, but women fail and they say, you gave it the old college try, but you shouldn't be in college.
They have to work 10 times harder, be placed in competition with those rare other women who've made it, be assumed to be sleeping with influential men.
Suddenly she's palling around with Lenny Bruce and opening for Shai Baldwin, blah, blah, blah. She's a whore.
And face a lot of people waiting for them to fail.
It's midnight on a Tuesday, and the highlight of their evening is the possibility of seeing a chick fail.
Midge's comedy doesn't just show that women can be funny, it shows that they're funniest when they're not trying to copy the guys or fit a man's idea of what's funny. Her humor benefits from including her experiences as a woman.
Our little girl is looking more and more like Winston Churchill every day, you know, with a big Yalta head, but that's not a reason to leave, right?
Like being a wife, mother, daughter, and Jewish woman in her era.
What repressing your emotions is to wasps, complaining is to Jews. It's second nature.
Midge also presents as hyper-feminine, always pristinely dressed and looking classically gorgeous, so she doesn't need to reject what's womanly about her.
Does being a modern woman mean I have to give up being a girl? Or liking pink? Or horses? Or getting out of swimming because I have cramps?
Midge combines elements of groundbreaking women's stand-ups from the 50s and 60s, while the fictional successful comedian Sophie Lennon is a reminder of how women often faced pressure to play a familiar caricature to be accepted, likely a desexualized maternal figure if they didn't want to be a sex object. Midge consciously rejects Sophie's path.
You know what's great about me?
Your humility?
No. It's when I'm me.
She may mess up everything from relationships to gigs, but she isn't playing it safe. She's bravely living her truth, and that's what sets her apart.
She's got guts. That is the difference between Midge Maisel and the great Sophie Lennon. You're a star for now, but she is going to be a goddamn legend.
Midge's comedy career begins on the cusp of the 1960s, a time of sexual revolution and a nascent women's rights movement.
1960. An interesting time to be a woman.
When we first meet Midge, she's well aware of how her society views women and how she can leverage that.
I let my emotions get the better of me. After all, I am a woman.
But by season 4, Midge is getting more radical in her refusal to stop compromising, to no longer play the game as she's been told it has to be done, like through taking gigs warming up for big stars where she can't say what she wants to.
That's not how the business works.
Then let's change the business.
But the truth is, this isn't easy to do, and sometimes even the people who seem to represent this rebellious, iconoclastic path are ultimately more establishment than we think. One of Midge's role models is the controversial comedian Lenny Bruce, because he appears to be someone who speaks his mind and doesn't play by the rules.
I will only do gigs where I can say what I want. That's what Lenny would do.
That's different. He's Lenny Bruce.
Well, then make me Lenny Bruce. Make me a headliner.
In season 4, though, he reveals that all he's ever wanted actually is something fairly conventional for a performer, to perform at Carnegie Hall, for people to want to book him.
Please come to my show at the hall they call Carnegie. A less than sold out show would shatter my fragile ego and hurt something very dear to the lawyers of America, my bank account.
While going to Carnegie Hall feels like a concrete possibility in the male trajectory, for Midge, it's revolutionary to just have a space. Any space, to be exactly who she is, talking about stuff that's important to her and not have to censor or change herself.
I made a decision to do things my way.
Why do we have to pretend to be sorry when we have nothing to be sorry about?
Midge questions if her desires might not be normal for a woman like herself.
Women are supposed to be mothers. It's supposed to be natural. It comes with the tits.
And feels guilt about the fact that her greatest love isn't her children, husband, friends, or parents, but performing.
You ever feel guilty?
This portrayal is important because even now, we're so rarely shown a female character choosing work over those other things, while the reality is that working women today often do have to compromise and miss some important moments in their children's lives.
Sounds pretty lively over there. What's going on?
It's Ethan's birthday.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I made 3 cakes.
And the external and internalized judgment Midge faces for leaving her children to go on tour reveals an entrenched double standard.
My dad was a traveling salesman. Gone 6 days out of 7. Nobody thought twice about that.
Even a working woman's professional success, then and to an extent now, isn't the simple plus that it is for men.
I mean, what man is going to want a woman who owns her own apartment?
He does have a point there. It does make you less feminine.
But going after her dreams doesn't make Midge any less of a mother. When she's back home, Midge is back on the clock with Ethan and Esther, pulling off 2 jobs as a mom and a comedian. Overall, Midge and contemporary women need to stop measuring themselves by their failures and actually look at how much they are pulling off.
I am a terrible person, but I want you all to know I am sorry and I love my friend Imogene.
But I hope you like the cupcakes.
I did.
And the little sugar babies on top. A little creepy eating babies, but delicious.
Midge's new career is likewise nurtured by the scrappy makeshift working setup with her manager, Susie.
Susie Myerson's office.
Someone she met by chance and who's never managed anyone before.
You should do stand-up, and I can help you.
Tonight was an isolated incident. There are medications I can take to make sure that never happens again.
They're an unlikely pair with extremely different upbringings, personalities, and outlooks, yet they make a great team because they trust each other, are both learning about the business together, and can see each other's massive potential, even if it's not yet proven to the world.
You know, she's always believed in me.
It's a great lesson for modern women to be open to unlikely friendships with those who share your goals and see the real you.
I want to be the biggest thing out there.
Tits up.
Tits up.
Midge's other relationships change shape over time too, as if her courage influences the people she knows to make different, braver choices. In fact, when she stops living for Joel, he gains more respect for Midge. Their relationship as exes and co-parents weirdly starts to feel more functional than when they were married.
You're working at a strip club?
Yes. You didn't know?
No.
Didn't Ethan tell you?
Why would he tell me?
I told him to tell you.
You told our 5-year-old son to tell me you're working at a strip club?
Didn't forget.
This is also because he's starting to carve out his own niche, finding a likewise more chaotic life for himself that gives him confidence, purpose, and a sense of self.
They just assumed your club would fail.
Why?
Because you're a Jewish ex-plastic salesman who suddenly opened a club in Chinatown with an English to Chinese dictionary from the 1800s.
Midge's dad, Abe, too, is happier after he ends up leaving his prestigious but stagnant roles at Columbia and Bell Labs and writing for the Village Voice instead.
David Merrick read my piece and he despised it. And you all absolutely hate me.
Well, terrific.
Even Midge's mother, Rose, an immaculate, seemingly born housewife, questions her life.
I'm unhappy, and I'm tired of being unhappy.
Goes to Paris to explore other avenues, and eventually starts her own business.
I mean, they can't just find spouses on their own.
You didn't.
Of course I did. I met you through a family friend, Sonia.
Yes, Sonia, the matchmaker.
Above all, Midge is provocative, and she shows how pushing boundaries is powerful.
Are women more important than God? What if we discover one day that we were always the ones in charge? Just no one told us.
Though she's living in the 1950s and 60s, she's asking questions that remain unanswered today about motherhood, family, guilt, and sex. With her relentless optimism and steadfast belief in herself, she reminds us to keep following our own star and carving out our own path, because this is what makes the world a better place for everyone.
A voice is a powerful thing. It can change the way people think, which can change the way people act. but it can't do anything if you keep your mouth shut. Well, lesson learned.
So what do you think of Midge Maisel's story so far? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the Amazon Prime Video channel.
Dad, why'd you name yourself Richard? He was like, because I want to be rich.
Did you wash your hands? Of course not.
Oh my god! You ever use schmaltz? Same heart attack, different afterlife.
High five. Even if I did know where the Antichrist was, I wouldn't tell you. We're on opposite sides.
I rather enjoy being on fleek.
I ate a bug.